Hello and welcome to another one of my missives about FPL. This would usually only be for patrons of the podcast, but this one's going in the regular feed. And if you want these things regularly, you can also patronise the podcast, let's say that. Well, game week 29 was a total shit show for all concerned, wasn't it? When you score 45 and it's a pretty good week, you know that most people must have had an absolute shocker. So let's go through the main offenders in chronological order as they happened. Aubameyang missed his vital penalty in the North London derby and he ended the week on -1. Mahrez was the only scorer in Man City's game against Bournemouth, and he must be one of the least owned assets on that team, so that pretty much meant that this game was inconsequential FPL-wise. I mean, Aguero blanking, Sterling blanking, that meant that huge swathes of fantasy players saw their captains coming home with nothing. Brighton Huddersfield has absolutely no fantasy implications, except that I want to mention it because that Brighton goal brought down a £300 winning bet for me down to a £60 win. The fucking seagull pricks. I thought I'd add that one in just so Chuck gets some Brighton hate in there. Man United Southampton, that was a great game with some amazing goals, but fuck me, nothing for Rashford, not for want of chances, and then Pogba missing a penalty. Then he has the goal to go and get booked as well. So that's another player with -1 on the board, and a lot of people had him as their captain. Half an hour before the deadline, I had him as my captain as well, but then I changed it, and so I was feeling pretty smug at the end of this game, because I knew how many people had gone for him. I thought, even as an owner, I thought I'll take the -1 knowing how many people have captained him. And I was happy going into Sunday with my captain on Salah, based on the carnage that I'd witnessed Saturday, but it wasn't to be. Third blank for Salah means that pretty much everyone's captain fell flat, except for anyone who had the balls to captain Jimenez, who continues to defy his price tag and would have delivered any Jimmy captainers 24 points, which in a week where 40 was the average is insanely good. I mean, making decisions like that on the reg will eventually see you below me in the rankings, but for now, through gritted teeth, congratulations, you must be absolutely smashing it this week. So, game 29 was a bloodbath. What have we got to look forward to in 30? More planning, I'm afraid. So, my personal move is Pogba and Richarlison to Hazard and McNeil. Richarlison looks like a busted flush at the minute. Pogba's trickier. I've got a lot of value wrapped up in him through price rises, but it does look like he's not getting forward quite as much as he was. And he's got a blank next week in 31. Getting in McNeil, he's just to make weight, so as I can afford Pogba to Hazard, I'll probably never play him, but he is getting regular minutes and returns. And I might need my bench next week in the blank, you never know. Hazard's been brought in as it's possible Chelsea are on the up. Don't tell Oscar. And they don't have a blank in 31. So I think if you're not free hitting in 31, then you probably need a Chelsea attacker because they're guaranteed a game. Maybe Hazard or Higuain. If you are planning the free hit in 31, then you can transfer with gay abandon and laugh at people who have had Rondon for weeks because he doesn't blank in 31. But you need to be aiming your team towards the double that's going to be in 32, and we won't know for absolute certain who has doubles for a couple of weeks yet. I don't think the Premier League are announcing it until 31's out of the way, I think. So we won't know for certain. I mean, you can assume that those that are blanking in 31 might move into 32, but they have messed us about before on that, so who knows. Back to my team and what I'm planning. Small green arrow, by the way. Still sub 700k, so don't get too excited. Salah would usually be out after 3 consecutive blanks, but Liverpool got Burnley and then Fulham, and it's very hard to transfer him out with those fixtures, and Liverpool don't blank, so I mean a lot of people are tripling up on Liverpool at the minute. I just can't bring myself to get rid of him, and steady yourselves, I think I'm going to captain him again. I hate myself for it, but he could have scored against Everton a couple of times. The fixture's nice, and it's happening, so just live with it, because I've got him. Right, well, that was it. This is the last mini pod this week that we're going to put out on the regular feed. Just give you a little taste of the extra eardrum ticklers that we provide for people who generously pledge to the podcast. And if you want to be one of those cool kids, you can go to patreon.com/milesoffsidepod and have a little look on what we have to offer. And I'll speak to you soon.